Today I'm going to show you how I made this brand new, realistic looking fake rock for my lizards. This time I'm using a bit of a different method, so let's get started. So first we start by carving out some foam board. Now I'm putting in some basic details into this that we'll incorporate into the rock later on. The foam's main job is just to give us a basic shape. So this time, instead of using tile pointing, I'm actually using a cement and sand mix. Now for the start here, I want a really smooth base to the rock, so I'm using quite a heavy cement mix and I'm really watering it down to really smooth it out. Now for this first layer, I've actually mixed up a few colours just so if I ever carve down under it, it's going to be a nice colour underneath. So I've got a few different sandstone mixes and things to make this kind of brown colour. Now this is basically just a scratch coat, it's just to hold everything together, and then the detail coat will go on top of this one after. Smoothing out the cement is actually really easy. All you need is a really soft brush and then also hitting it with quite a bit of water. You can just really smooth it out nice and gently, and it makes for a really nice surface. Now for this base coat, you can see I'm really just keeping the basic details that I carved into the foam. I'm not putting much into it at all because that's going to come on the next layer on top. So as I mentioned, I'm using a mix of sand and cement. Now this top layer I'm putting it on quite thick, and it's about a 50-50 mix of cement to sand. Now ratios are quite important and this one seemed to work well for me, but we'll see down the track how it holds up and how I might have to change it in the future. But I'm literally just crushing it in my glove and patting it on there, using a little bit of water from a spray bottle if I need to help smooth it out or anything like that. But the idea is to pack on quite a thick layer which we can then carve into later on as it's drying. Once again, I added a lot of sandstone colour oxides to the mix as well for some nice coloration, so it's not that gross grey artificial looking colour when it finally dries. So after we put that first layer on, you give it a bit of time to start setting and hardening up to the point where you can still manipulate it a bit, but it's not going to all fall apart or slide everywhere if you start trying to carve it. So once it's at that point, you can start going to town on it really. Grab your trowel or whatever tools you'd like to use and start carving in all the little details. So I use the natural contour, the different elevations and the pre-existing things I put into the foam as my guide, and I started just chipping away at it, making some deep cracks and crevices in some spots or just chipping away at some points. And once you get a bit of a feel for it, you really start to get a good eye for it and put in all those little beautiful details. Now again, as you're carving, you can use a really soft bristled dry brush to brush away all the excess, get it out of those cracks. And the beauty of having that second layer on top and the original layer underneath is that if you carve down too far, all you're going to do is hit that other layer, so you're not going to have any exposed foam or anything like that. It's all going to look part of the one unit. Now this really is a lot of fun, but it is quite time consuming, and if the cement is starting to dry too much on one side, you can simply grab your spray bottle full of water and just give it a light spray down on top, and that'll give you some extra time. So it can be quite difficult to get all the debris out of the cracks that you carve with the paintbrush alone. So I like to let it dry and set a bit more and then come back just as it's setting with the trowel again to really carve out all those cracks and give it the extra little details when everything is a lot more firmer and you can sort of chip it off quite easily.
Alright, so it's pretty much dry now and it's looking pretty awesome. It's really quite solid. I'm loving how all the cracking turned out. I did go back a little bit as it was drying and just clear out some of the grooves and things and just tidy it all up a bit how I wanted it to look. And yeah, it's actually, the colours turned out quite nice as well. It's that mix of the sandstone and the red pigment I put in there, and the natural colour of the cement and sand itself, and it's turned out pretty nice. But I will obviously paint it now. That is the part where it really all comes together, so I don't think I'm going to need to hit it with that much paint. I'm definitely going to do like a black wash on it, and then I'll maybe add a bit of red and brown paints to give some little highlights and variation. But I think the black wash will be the main thing that'll set it off, and I'll just do that a bit heavier in a few areas. But yeah, let's get some paint on it. So here we have the finished result. It's turned out pretty damn good, if I do say so myself. It's been a constant progression in making fake rocks. You know, you just get better and better at it over time as you practice and you try new things, and this is where I'm at so far. So I'll probably look at this in a year's time and say it looks crap, but you know, it's all about that progression and doing as best as you can. But the beauty of using the cement is that you can really carve into it like this and get all those little fine details in there. The downside though is that it is quite a bit heavier than tile pointing or something like that, because you have to put on quite a thick layer for it to set properly. Now, as you saw, the painting is really what sets it off. So you know, you can get it to look pretty cool just with the carving and everything like that, but once you start adding the different colours and textures in there, it's just amazing what it does, especially that black wash right at the end. And I actually went back and did a bit of extra bits in some of these cracks and crevices and things to make them stand out a bit more, and it just really sets it off. Hey, the differences in all the little colours and everything just makes it look so naturalistic. You can really see the effect the paint has when you flip it over upside down, where I haven't painted it at all, and just looks really fake and man-made, but it's incredible what you can do. So if you'd like to continue to see how my fake rock making progresses over time, make sure you subscribe and follow on for more DIY videos, much more. Of course, this is just the beginning. I'm going to be doing this technique on all backgrounds and everything moving on into the future.